My third segment is about taking control of your diary. It's your diary, it's your life, it's your time. Your diary is a representation of how you spend your working time. The first thing to say about ministers, in my experience all over the world, is ministers spend a lot of hours working. I'm afraid that goes with the territory. That's the nature of the work. It's an honor, it's a privilege to be a minister. It's also a huge responsibility, and the work is intense often. It's important to a country and to you and to your Prime Minister and the Finance Minister and the rest of the government. But it does take a lot of time, inevitably because of that. I think the way to think about this is probably you're going to be working 50 to 70 hours a week, probably in the 60 to 70 hours range. And that's partly because with a ministerial responsibility, there are a lot of routine things that you just have to do. You have to sign these things, or some budget, some payment that goes out. You have to sign them. You have to read the briefings. You have to answer questions in Parliament or in the media. There's a whole set of basic responsibilities that go with a ministerial job, and they will often take you, just doing those things will take you 30 or 40 hours. And then if over and above that, you want to change things, and you've got to persuade people, and you've got to meet people, you've got to talk to the media, you've got to order your officials, you've got to line up the Prime Minister and the Cabinet and the Finance Minister. These all take extra time. So by the time you've done the routine things, if you want to change things, that may add another 25 or 30 hours, and there you are already at 60 to 70 hours a week. So the combination of routine business plus making change happen just is time consuming. The second thing is there are lots of your diary is up to you to control. If you don't take control of it, you can be sure that the officials in your private office and the department will fill your diary for you. You'll always be busy. But the question is not whether you work 60 or 70 hours a week, it's how you use those 60 or 70 hours a week to drive the agenda that you have set. Maybe you've agreed it with the Prime Minister, maybe it's a manifesto commitment, maybe it's a decision of the Cabinet or a set of decisions, maybe it's a big investment in some part of the future of the health system or the education system or whatever it is that you're minister for. But it's up to you to take control of that. And here are some things to think about as you do that. First of all, very obviously, but often not the case, try to start meetings on time and finish meetings on time, because then your diary is more predictable. Everybody in the government department and stakeholders, once they know that your time is predictable, they know they can come and get their meeting started and finish on time. If they don't know that, if you're always overrunning, you're going to have queues of officials and stakeholders waiting in waiting rooms, standing outside your private office, wondering whether to go back to their desks or not, but wasting time. So using your time well helps lots of other people use their time well too. And one way to just help you with that a bit is to build in buffers. So don't fill every working minute from 8:30 to 6:30 in the evening. Put in half-hour buffers when you can have a coffee, when you can brief your private office, and maybe you can catch up on a little bit of reading or whatever it might be. Build in buffers to each day, but also build into each week thinking time. You might want to be on your own in your office, just able to think and read and reflect, recharge your intellectual batteries, think and reflect on what you've learned. Maybe write yourself a brief diary or some thoughts in a notebook where you're just unlocking and making explicit things that you've learned that morning, that day, or things that you're reflecting on for the future. So build in to your week some time for reflection. Train your officials to use your time well. Explain to them who are the people you like to see particularly and that are important. Obviously, the Prime Minister's office and the Finance Minister are going to come very near the top, if not the top of your agenda. There may be some key people in the system that you need to keep in touch with. There may occasionally be private things your family might need to be in touch with you. Explain to the officials what it is that matters most to you so that they can make diary appointments when you're not there, confident that they'll get that right. when the officials come to meetings with you, make sure they are well prepared. Early on, if some officials come to a meeting and they're not well prepared, they're obviously not on top of what they're saying, they haven't got a clarity about what they're explaining or what they want you to do, send them away. They're wasting your time. They're wasting lots of other people's time. Tell them to come back when they're properly prepared. You do that a few times, that will send a message right through the department that if you want to see this minister, you need to be properly prepared. I remember listening to a minister talking to two officials who were competing. They were arguing about a particular resource, and the minister listened to both of them, and she said to the first one, well, you can have exactly what you want because you were well prepared. She didn't need to say anything to the other one. So she actually conveyed a message really strongly. So be prepared to expect a lot from your officials, get them to rise to those expectations and call them out when you think they're wasting your time. The other thing that takes ministerial time, obviously, is getting out into the system. It's important that you do visits to the front line. If you're a health minister going to hospitals or clinics, if you're a schools minister going to schools, whatever minister you are, get out and see for yourself, because although you might be looking at flows of data, that won't be enough, because you have to go and interpret the system. You also have to be seen to be listening to people, be seen to be communicating, but plan those things strategically. Think about a time in the week when you're going to do them. Think about how the visit relates to the wider agenda. Think about how the visit relates to what you've been saying to the media. Think about how the visit relates to your overall strategic agenda. Make sure the visits actually relate to things that matter to you, and that you're helping use the visits, firstly, for your own learning, but secondly, you're communicating a message about what matters to you. Finally, but by no means least importantly, build routines into your diary. So let's say you're a minister with 3 or 4 top priorities, things that you know are going to be your legacy. Maybe the Prime Minister's asked you to do them. Maybe you want to do them for yourself, whatever they are. You've got 3 or 4 big priorities. Make sure that every 3 or 4 weeks on a routine basis, the people responsible for that piece of implementation come and brief you on what's working and what isn't working. So build a routine. Don't wait to read about something going wrong in the media and then summon them all. Make sure the routine is there, and then they know, and you know, that there'll be a constant checkpoint coming up. This is what I did for Tony Blair's diary in between 2001 and 2005. And when I left, having been there right through his second term, he said the best thing was I knew that whatever I was doing as Prime Minister, you, Michael, were constantly focused on my priorities, and you were building routines into my diary that meant I could keep them going, keep them ticking over, regardless of the many distractions that face a Prime Minister. And then in between the routine meetings, that we call them stock takes, he was getting a monthly note on each of his key priorities. You can do that. So if you're a minister, you want to stay on top of your own priorities, maybe every month you have a review meeting, a stock take, and then in between the monthly stock takes, you get a brief note updating you on what's going well, what isn't going well, where something isn't going well. Train the officials to tell you what they think you should do about that. And then you can say, yes, I agree with that, or no, I think you need to do more. But build that sense of routine. I assure you, if you get routines built into your diary in the way that I'm describing, it will make an enormous difference to your ability to get things done, and to make sure they actually happen, and that the citizens of your country benefit from your activity.